Order. Senator Milne.
Thank you, Mr President. My question is to the Minister, representing the Minister for Climate Change, Senator Lundy. And I ask, are you aware, Minister, the Climate Commission has said in its latest report, and I quote, "From today until 2050 we can emit no more than 600 billion tonnes of carbon dioxide to have a good chance of staying within 2 degrees limit. Based on estimates by the International Energy Agency, emissions from using all the world's fossil fuel reserves would be around 5 times this budget, and burning all fossil fuel reserves would lead to unprecedented changes in climate so severe that they'll challenge the existence of our society."
Just wait a minute. Just wait a minute, Senator Milne. You are entitled to be heard in silence. Order. Order. Senator Milne, continue.
Thank you. What I was saying is that the changes would be in the climate so severe they'll challenge the existence of our society as we know it today. And finally, it's clear that most fossil fuels must be left in the ground and cannot be burned. Does the government agree with the Climate Commission?
Minister representing the Minister for Climate Change, Senator Lundy.
Thank you very much, Mr President. We are extremely concerned as a government about the impact of climate change, which is why we have put in place a carbon price. It has been operating since the 1st of July 2012, and we are already seeing an impact in cleaning up Australia's economy. There are a number of factors and contributions to how we will achieve this, and indeed one of those is that electricity emissions are down. Electricity accounts for the majority of emissions covered by the carbon price, and emissions from the national electricity market fell by 7.4% in the first 11 months of carbon pricing. Mr President, that is a reduction of almost 12 million tonnes of pollution.
Order. Senator Lundy, resume your seat. Senator Milne.
Thank you, Mr President. I draw your attention to relevance. The Minister was asked whether fossil fuels should be left in the ground and can't be burned, and whether the government agreed with the Commission. I'd ask her to answer that.
The question was far wider than that. The Minister is answering the question. The Minister still has 1 minute 14 to go. The Minister. Minister.
As I was saying, the coal-fired generation is also down, and the amount of electricity generated by burning coal is down over 7% in the national electricity market. But the updated critical decade report by the Climate Commission shows that there is now even stronger evidence than ever before for a rapidly changing climate. It does find that greenhouse gas emissions are now at their highest level in over 1 million years and are increasing at a faster rate than ever recorded. This report is a stark reminder that this critical decade, it is a critical decade for Australia and the world, and we take this advice extremely seriously. And that's why we are taking the action we are to transition to a cleaner energy sources, and why we have set up the Independent Climate Change Authority to make recommendations about the right pollution caps and carbon budgets for our country. Mr President, the report urges government to make the switch from emissions-intensive fossil fuel sources to renewable energy, and that's exactly what our Clean Energy Future package is doing, combined with Labor's renewable energy target. And as I said, I've already outlined some of the positive results we are seeing.
Thank you, Mr President, and I note the Minister has avoided the question, so I'll ask her, does the government agree that the huge coal mines proposed for the Bowen and Galilee basins should not now proceed, and that the coal ports proposed for construction should be stopped, given that if that coal was burnt it would be equivalent to the 7th biggest emitter in the world? Will you stop those ports and those mines in the Galilee and Bowen basins?
Order. 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 Minister.
Thank you, Mr President. As I said, we are seeing positive results, and coal is making up a declining proportion of our nation's electricity market, down 7% since the carbon price began. And at the same time, electricity generated from renewable sources has increased almost 30%. Treasury modelling shows that under a carbon price, the transformation of the electricity sector will continue, with renewable energy making up an increasing proportion of the energy mix. And in combination with our carbon price, the renewable energy target, the Clean Energy Finance Corporation, the Australian Renewable Energy Agency will also continue to drive the transition of our emissions-intensive energy network to a more suitable path. Mr President, nations around the world accept the science of climate change and are taking domestic measures to move to clean energy sources. The growth of Australia's significant export coal industry will be determined by the still and energy needs and policies of its customers, the efficiency of their operations and competition with clean energy technologies.
Minister, I ask the Minister, do you concede that the policy you have to expand coal mines and to have that coal burnt is completely contrary to the Climate Commission report and indicates that you don't accept the climate science?
Order. Order. On my left. Now, when there's silence on my left, we'll proceed. Order. Senator Lundy.
Thank you. No, we certainly don't concede that, Senator Milne. In the longer term, these issues will be influenced by the extent to which the industry can commercialise carbon capture and storage technologies. Countries are responsible for their domestic emissions and how they meet their national targets, which contribute to the global carbon budget. And Australia is therefore responsible for emissions from coal combusted in Australia and for fugitive emissions arising from both domestically consumed and exported coal. For example, the cost of fugitive emissions from an open-cut coal mine in Queensland is currently around 39 cents per tonne, and there is almost $100 billion worth of coal mining investment at various stages of the investment pipeline. When it comes to exports, Mr President, the majority of Australia's coal exports go to Japan, South Korea, China and the European Union. And all these countries have introduced or plan to introduce a price on carbon through emissions trading schemes or carbon taxes that will apply to coal consumption in these countries.
Order. Before calling